Oh, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, we have live updates from Washington, D.C. in the United States, where Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been engaging Ghana's external creditors on the sidelines of the IMF spring meetings, hoping to secure the board's approval. We shall engage experts. In fact, my colleague Abdul Sani is there for us. We'll give you live updates. The opposition NDC drags a Greek minister and MP for Abetifi Brian Champon to the CID for investigations and prosecution over comments they deem insightful. We have reactions from the NPP, the Peace Council, and more. Also, do you know your Ghana card may have been used to register a SIM card that is not yours? Well, yeah, stay with us. We have a conversation on SIM card registration fraud and how authorities are taking steps to deal with this. All these and more tonight. We posted something on social media. That's TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Share your experiences with us on this particular issue, because a number of you have been telling us about how you found out that your Ghana card details have been used to register some SIM cards that are not yours. Stay with us. We'll get into the details of these and more here on Ghana Tonight. We'll be back shortly. Connect with us. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. The National Peace Council has said it will summon all actors in the political space by the end of April to have a conversation on the use of intemperate language. Chairman of the Council, Reverend Dr. Ernest Edujemfi, was reacting to comments by Agriculture Minister and Member of Parliament for Abetifi, Brian Champon, that the ruling New Patriotic Party will not hand over power to the opposition National Democratic Congress.
We've seen and had various footages of statements made by political actors from all the political divide, which is not in the best interest of the country. And so we want to use the opportunity we have now to appeal to them that just as we had a discussion here, we expect them to abide by the decisions we took.
The opposition NDC has presented a petition to the Ghana Police Service Criminal Investigations Department and copied to the Inspector General of Police over comments made by the Agriculture Minister and Member of Parliament for Abetifi, Brian Champon. The NDC wants the Minister and MP investigated and prosecuted.
Comments on that day border on one, national security, and two, an affront to the Constitution. And as lawyers, we think that the police administration must be interested in this matter. The CRD boss indicated to us his appreciation of what we have done, and she was of the view that she would take the necessary steps, having received the petition.
The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association says migration of health professionals will continue until government enhances the working conditions of healthcare workers. The association was reacting to the red enlisting of Ghana amongst some 54 countries from being actively considered for recruitment by health and social care employers by the UK government.
It will not stop migration. Nurses will continue to go to UK. They will continue to go to different parts of the country because it's of the world, because UK is actively not recruiting, but individuals can still apply and be recruited into UK. The main reason why nurses and midwives are leaving the shores of Ghana is because of their conditions of sex.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been engaging Ghana's external creditors at the sidelines of the ongoing spring meetings as he hopes to secure the needed financing assurances to get the all-important IMF board approval. A crunch meeting with Paris Club members as well as China came off earlier today in Washington, with the finance minister pushing the creditors to agree on a plan for Ghana. Financing assurance from external creditors is the last major hurdle for Ghana to get the bailout from the IMF. Professor in economics at the University of Ghana Business School, Godfred King, thinks the domestic debt exchange program, DDEP, is likely to create impairment for banks in Ghana. He observed the DDEP is likely to create an impairment to the tune of some 41 billion cedis, representing some 40%, which will affect the solvency of banks.
If they had applied the International Financial Reporting Standard 9, FRS 9, in discounting, in accounting for the impairment losses, few banks would have been able to survive. The impact is much, a little smaller now than what it would have been.
On that day, border on one, national security, and two, an affront to the Constitution. And as lawyers, we think that the police administration must be interested in this matter. The police administration, not long ago, gave a clear indication that they were not going to tolerate such comments.
That's a statement by Brian Achampong that's attracted a number of reactions and condemnation by many people, not just individuals, but institutions as well, described as a threat to our democracy as a country. And as a matter of fact, the NDC has already petitioned the CID on this. They are not alone in this. What we are hearing, in fact, we spoke to some members of the MPs, members of parliament, off air. They are not willing to comment. Just a handful of party executives are out actually defending this. In fact, a number of the individuals and institutions who have waded in and condemning this statement by Brian Achampong are just unfolding. This is Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. He's going to be joining us on the show. But earlier, he put out a statement. A part of it reads, and I quote, Brian Achampong's indiscipline and violent tendency has reached legendary levels, and it's about time the president and the NPP leadership called him to sanity. Failure to do that will further injure the party and lead it to a total collapse. That's Nyaho Tamaklo. And stay with me here on Ghana Tonight. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is going to be joining us on this particular issue and this statement that he has issued on the Brian Achampong speech that was given over the weekend. He's not alone in this. In fact, we have a number of people who have also condemned this particular statement, describing it as a threat to our democracy. Take a look at this. This is Dr. Emmanuel Akwete as well. He is executive director of the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC. He is quoted to say that, I think that in the past, when people have made statements that threaten our national unity or security, the police deal with them. It happened to Kennedy Agyapong about the statement that Asante or Akans are being threatened. He was invited. Koko Anyidoho was also invited. We also heard of Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. He is in court. So can the police show a fair hand? Could they also invite Brian Achampong? That's what Dr. Emmanuel Akwete as well is quoted to have said. Okay, the National Peace Council have raised concerns about this as well, and they have indicated they are already putting a committee together to look into this. A number of people, Christian Council also looking quite closely. So this is how things are playing out. But as well as the case of the constant equalization in our body politics, we understand the NPP is also preparing to petition the Ghana Police Service, CID, over comments made by John Mahama in the run-up to the 2020 elections. Well, questions have been asked, why now, and all of that. But you see, unfortunately, that's the kind of politics that we practice The national organizer of the MPP, Henry Nanabuachi, will be joining us later on the show. He's been speaking to us. We're getting to that. But when all this back and forth happens, the flex of who is the most violent and the defense and equalization, it is you and I, or perhaps our brothers and sisters who suffer. Let me refresh your mind on what happened during the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. The people who have been left with life-threatening injuries because we were exercising our democratic right. Think about it. You take a look at this.
Still don't pay any minano because meta na I saw minano up to now from year to year. Now don't pay no name.
There is a metal caliper inserted. I cannot walk. My feet get swollen under the least pressure.
Na mojanu na aba down. Ansara ma peja area 2 table ansara mojanu aba from kakra na aye waki kakra. Omo say mi life no asay kura.
My life has been damaged for life.
Ebimu omo injury no minor na media no de for life.
Well, that's the young man. He says his injuries for life. He cannot walk without the aid of crutches. That is what we're talking about, the outcome or the results of violence in an election. And you know, to talk about Techiman South, number of people who died during the 2020 elections. The latest update we have into that investigation, as far as I can recall, is the Ghana Police Service putting 100,000 cedis bounty on the perpetrators of the crime in Techiman South. But to what end? So see this as a national issue and not an NPP and DC matter. Because, look, we don't have a place to go. The people who speak that way, maybe they have alternatives where to run to. But that's why we cannot leave the peace of this country to politicians to determine. Stay with me. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We'll get as well into the issues happening with the IMF deal, the finance minister, some members of the Finance Committee of Parliament, plus our reporter, Abdul Sani Rahman. They are in Washington, D.C., attending the IMF spring meetings. We understand there's been some developments there with our creditors as well. Here's what we do know. The Paris Club, 22 permanent member states of the Paris Club, we are currently dealing with right now in that crunch meeting, number of them. And this is how our external debt holders actually look like as of September 2022. So it's a big deal, and it's a crunch meeting which will determine whether we're going to get an IMF deal or not. Our hopes hang heavily on this bilateral creditors meeting ongoing as we speak. We'll get some updates live from DC. Stay with me. We'll be back shortly after this quick break.
Win your share of over 3 million Ghana cedis worth of prizes whenever you buy a bottle of Guinness, Star, or Origin. Dial *1000# to submit the code under the crown, and you can win cash, free airtime, and drinks. So look sharp. This advert is FDA approved. Drink responsibly, not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years. Not recommended for pregnant women.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint. simply superior.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful Endpoint one?
Chesena me ankasa me period na se problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo medro me fire no ene ma won kra me nu kofro kwa na mkwan mu a eba
Head everything yourself.
Me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko Endpoint o mama nu nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's Endpoint for you.
Of Acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, Oshisho what che?
Okay.
A free bra who di Endpoint what dance. I'm a choir no. Me Johnson say my name koye and pass one my name nyina and imagine sabema. Na me be fear for there. The one nyina jaresa.
You heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
D aje dwedien krato yatum. At long last, Blue Jays Vodka makes a bummer kit. Blue Jays Vodka makes Numbi a fine.
This look, the guys are chilling with Blue Jays Vodka mix. Wow!
Numbi a tasty.
Can we join you guys? We are all single. Yeah.
Blue Jays Vodka mix emu de. Taste no ye kama. Enjoy the unique taste of Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix Numbi a fine.
Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix.
Numune nyansem wonton manimpa woni mfie don wotwe ensesa penfo no.
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space. Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education, together with women's maternal health services. Our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. You're welcome back to Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Some members of the opposition NDC were at the police headquarters earlier today to present a petition to the Inspector General of Police over the Agric Minister and Abetifi MP Brian Champon's comments over the weekend. Take a look.
So today we were at the CID headquarters to present to the CID boss a petition calling on the CID boss to arrest, investigate, and prosecute the Minister for Agric, Brian Champon, for the unsavory comments that he made during the Easter break. You are aware that he's on viral video to have said that the MPP will not hand over power to the NDC, come what may. And as lawyers, we are of the view that this comment or his comments on that day border on one, national security, and two, an affront to the Constitution. And as lawyers, we think that the police administration must be interested in this matter because as stakeholders in this democratic dispensation, we will not sit by for just one person to pass comments that will bring unrest in this country. So that's why we are here today, and we've submitted the petition to the CID boss. We had a copy for the IGP, and we thought we could have met him personally. The CID boss indicated to us his appreciation of what we have done, and she was of the view that she would take the necessary steps, having received the petition. But once we were also going to serve the IGP, she will wait until we do that. We have attached a video in a pen drive, and that if she hasn't seen it, this is an opportunity for her to now see it. We are very confident because the police administration, not long ago, gave a clear indication that they were not going to tolerate such comments, particularly when the youth organizer of Swami, the NDC youth organizer, was arrested and put before court. And as we speak, he's in court. And so we saw that as a mark of good leadership on the part of the police administration. And so what we are doing is not derogating from that. What we are doing is furthering what the police has already started doing. And so we are confident that having started this, the police administration by themselves, clamping down on such speech, they would deal with this matter as well. We are not about to tell the police how to do their work. The police are professionals, but there's always a reasonable time period. We'll give them a certain reasonable time. Failure to act on it, we will now take the next step. And the next step, as you are aware, we have copied this to various institutions and very important personalities in this country. We will take up the matter with them. We will let everybody know in this country that the police administration is beginning to be choosy and the police administration is beginning to be biased. But I don't want us to get there.
That's Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, lawyer Abraham Amaliba, there. That's at the headquarters, national headquarters of the Ghana Police Service, the CID office earlier today. But let's find out what the NPP is going to do about this. Henry Nanabuachi is national organizer of the ruling NPP. He's joining us on telephone. Thank you for your time this evening. So this is what the NDC has done. And then some other persons who have also condemned Brian Champon's statement. Let me establish this. I understand you're also going to petition the CID?
Before I even proceed, let me also announce on your platform that we have just finalized and concluded a petition to be submitted to the Ghana Police Service, the CID department, for the arrest, investigation and prosecution of the former president, John Dramani Mahama, for comments is made, which has violent tendencies. And you recall that he said that for the NDC, they were born out of the revolution. And then we know what the features of the revolution is: bloodshed, dissident mayhem, violence. Okay. And for the NDC, they are violent.
So are you quoting Jomama or you are paraphrasing?
When it comes to unleashing violence, they are unmatched. The 2024 elections at the police station is going to be boot for boot. It's going to be do or die. These comments are a threat to national security, a threat to the peace and stability. These comments are affront to the democratic stability we have in this country. So we have also petitioned the police CID to arrest and investigate and prosecute the former president for some of these criminally intended statements he uttered. No. You recall that Mr. Shedun Ketia have also said that they will do anything to make sure they win this election, even including sacrificing their lives.
But you see, that's I was asking you earlier if you are paraphrasing or quoting John Mahama, because if you are referring to what he said in Adaklu, I think I remember that, so in the run-up to the 2020 elections, then some of the statements or the words that you quoted, them, it's not contained in what he said exactly. That's why I wanted to find out if you are paraphrasing what he said or you are actually quoting him. But do you think that it is actually the best way to go to advance and to improve on our democracy, that when a statement like this is made, you also go down into memory lane and bring up something? I mean, why now?
So yes, for the New Patriotic Party, we have said that we see nothing wrong with Honorable Bernie Champong's comments. If you listen to the entire tape, not the one that's been put together, you recall that he had laid a certain foundation. He had said that because of the economic downturn, the National Democratic Congress members or leadership, they are of the view that they would use that as a platform to gain political power because of the economic challenges that we are going through. And what he said was that now petrol prices are coming down. Just before Christmas it was 24 cities. Now between 11 and 12 Ghana cities. Dollar is stabilizing. The NDC's. So we had already laid the foundation for his comments. So his comment cannot be taken in vacuum. You cannot, the NDC especially cannot manipulate his comment. So what he said was that because of the glimpse of economic turnaround that we are seeing, the NDC's view, which he had earlier stated, that they are of the view that because of the economic challenges we have, that will project them to political power, will not materialize. And as such, the NDC will collapse. And the New Patriotic Party will not hand power over to them. Ostensibly because we are going to win. I don't find anything wrong with that. Because if the NDC can boldly say that former President Mahama is going to win the elections, and then the national chairman of the NDC says that they are going to do everything within their power, anything, even including sacrificing their lives. If he's able to say that, I don't see any difference with that. I cannot draw any dichotomy. I mean, this is clearly a positive statement meant to energize our base, meant to psychologically boost us.
I see, but
as a party, that you know what, be energized. Let's work hard. Do not be dismayed because of the economic challenges we find ourselves, because that is what the NDC are thinking that they will use for electoral victory. No.
But
be confident. So I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Well, I see that's a matter of opinion.
Now the NDC
Nyao Tamaklo thinks otherwise, by the way.
In the past have made some comments that seek to undermine our stability, that seek to shift the very foundation of the peace and tranquility we have.
By the way, but just for the benefit of our viewers, because you are saying that you don't see anything wrong, he was only saying that to energize the base of the party. I want to find out if this is the statement that energizes the base, or rather raises concerns, not just by the NDC, but other democracy or pro-democracy groups in this country. So let's take a listen to Brian Champong over the weekend. Okay, let's take a look at this.
Border on one national.
So you say that whatever means that you as a party you use to win the 2024 elections, you will do it. And that you're not going to hand over power to the NDC, that's the NDC. So assuming that the Ghanaian people, after the elections, votes are counted and the Electoral Commission declares the NDC as winner, then what's the essence of this statement by Brian Champong? What are you going to do?
in my view, I think that the New Patriotic Party will win the elections and down. So if anybody has a contrary view, that person can also project that. So I will not project a statement where it says if the NDC, the hypothetical, statement, if the NDC, I'm not going to project that statement. My projection is that the New Patriotic Party will put itself together. We are going to manage its economy very well. Yes, we admit we have challenges, but we are going to put ourselves together and we are going to win the elections.
I see, but to the extent that you are actually saying you are now also going to petition the CID over the comments by John Mahama in 2020, the underlying factor there is that then you also see that there's something wrong in there, per your own view. So do you want to go on this path and have to defend everything, or just for the greater good, you would have to raise caution where necessary?
We have heard these comments. We didn't really raise any red flags. You can pass a comment. That is why I'm saying that for me, the NDC is just exhibiting, or displaying baby cry. I think it's much ado about nothing. For me, I think that what the NDC is doing is much ado about nothing. But yes, once they have petitioned, as I said, we have also finalized a petition. We are sending it to the Ghana Police Service for former President Mahama to be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted.
I see. We'll see how the coming days will look like on this. But Henry Nabuachi is national organizer of the NPP. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is a founding member of the NPP. He issued a statement earlier in the day, but we spoke to him some few minutes before coming on Ghana Tonight, and this is what he had to say. Take a look.
Well, I personally think it wasn't necessary for the NDC to petition the IGP, because the IGP should know his work. He should know exactly what institutes a criminal act and act upon that as an IGP without being forced by anybody. So I definitely don't think the NDC was right, even in getting in touch with him. Now, what I heard this evening on news was that they were unable even to meet him. And that comes to confirm exactly what I've done. Because we've had a similar case in Kumasi, where the gentleman involved is in the law courts at the moment. So if the IGP definitely has heard of what happened in Kwawu, and for more than 48 hours have been silent on that, I think he should be left alone. That's all. And that tells you the state of our security setup vis-a-vis the police itself. I don't believe that the police itself is independent. I don't believe that. So I would not definitely have gone to the police to have such a case settled. And what happened this afternoon, as we all heard on the network, is that the IGP himself evaded the NDC lawyers who came to his office to have a chat with him. I was able to see through this very early, and as such, I don't think it was even necessary to get the police involved with this. They don't have to. They don't have at all to be, what do you call it, talked to by somebody, particularly the IGP, before they act. They have acted on numerous occasions when nobody has asked them to do so. So I was expecting them to act, and they didn't act. And to me, that is a big, 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 big mistake.
I see. Well, so that's Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, founder member of the New Patriotic Party. Just a few minutes before we came on air on Ghana Tonight. You can find more on 3news.com. But the National Peace Council also has been raising concerns about this statement, and they've indicated what they intend to do next. We spoke to the national chair earlier today. Take a look.
We are looking at it as a whole. So we want to bring the actors back here. All the political leaders will be brought back here as soon as possible to look at all the things that they are saying. And we show them, you have said this has said that has said that has said that. And it's not helping us. You know, sometimes some of these things come as a reaction to what some other people have said. But because it's current, you are likely to forget the others. But for the Peace Council, we are compiling all of those. And we want to place it before all of them. That, look, these are the things you guys are saying. We all sat here and agreed that we need to be careful. And if all of us have agreed on those things, we expect all players to be mindful of what we have said and abide by those things so that we don't go out making statements that incite the public against the country. Our mandate does not give us the power to sanction. Ours is mediation. And so we do that as much as possible. We bring them. And we think that when you appeal to the conscience of people, it makes much more sense. For instance, right now everybody is expecting you go out and condemn this. Condemnation doesn't solve any problem. But we appeal to the conscience of people. Is it right in your capacity as a gentleman to make this or that statement? Those are the things that we are looking at. So people become aware that for as far as my capacity is concerned, if I call myself an honorable person, then I need to be careful with what I say and how I say it. At the end of the day, the choice of the people will be the choice of the people. You know, we may cry, we may do whatever we want to do. And if the results are declared at the polling station, you can't go and take the box and do whatever it's declared. You know, so let's leave the people and let them make their choices. But we have to be careful with what we say and how we say it to ensure that we don't create destabilization for our country.
So that's chair of the National Peace Council there. It's an issue that we're going to stay the steam on in the coming days, and especially because the NPP has also given notice that they intend to petition the CID over comments made by John Mahama in the run-up to the 2020 elections in the coming days. We'll see what happens. But you also have a take in this. Let's hear from you. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and also 3news.com. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been engaging Ghana's external creditors on the sidelines of the ongoing spring meetings by the IMF. He hopes to secure the needed financing assurances to get the all-important IMF board approval. It's a crunch meeting. In fact, we have videos of the finance minister. It came through not too long ago. We're going to slap that on the screen shortly. Understand that's what you see there. There's a government delegation, the finance minister you see there as well. There's a crunch meeting that took place with the Paris Club members, as well as China came off earlier today. We understand China is, at that moment, we've seen some details coming up right now. The finance minister pushing the creditors to agree on a plan for Ghana. So that's what you see on the screen. These are live videos of what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. These are live videos coming through from Washington, D.C. You see Ken Ofori-Atta there, and with my colleague, Abdul Sani. Now, stay with me. This is Ghana Tonight. We're following quite closely what's happening in Washington, D.C. and the crunch meeting with the creditor committee. The 22 permanent members of the creditor committee and how things will play out. Let's cross over now to Washington, D.C. live. Abdul Sani Rahman is my colleague, is covering this for us. Sani, thank you so much for connecting with us here on Ghana Tonight. I saw you following the finance minister every step of the way. What have you been gathering so far?
Well, as the world gathers here in Washington, as you indicated, Alfred, the agenda has been around addressing some of the key issues bordering the global economy, i.e. high inflation, which has resulted in high borrowing costs because central banks around the world have been increasing the key lending rate in an attempt to arrest the soaring inflation. While this is of concern to global leaders that have gathered here, for Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, his concern has largely been how he can get the needed financing assurance from the country's external creditors in order to get the much needed bailouts approval from the board of the International Monetary Fund. The details of the meetings have been scanty. Officials of the finance ministry who are leading the delegation here are not sharing much, but we are aware that China has pledged its commitment in the meeting to offer the needed assurance. Although the Chinese authorities, we are told, have subtly rejected to co-chair the creditor committee, because of course, if they agree to do that, it's like the finance ministry, or for that matter, the government of Ghana, tying them on the neck for them to offer whatever we are asking for as far as this negotiation is concerned. So to a large extent, while the leaders have been looking at addressing global concerns, the finance minister and his team has been engaging external creditors on the sidelines, trying to accelerate the conversation regarding the external debt restructuring so that they can secure the much needed bailout from the fund, which now we are learning is quite unlikely, even in the month of April that we are in now. They are looking at ending May to somewhere June, according to our sources who are familiar with the conversation.
Let's bring in Dr. Theo Champon as well. Sani, stay with me. Dr. Theo Champon is also connecting with us. He's a political risk analyst and an economist as well. Dr. Theo Champon, thank you for your time. And you've monitored the happenings in Washington, D.C. quite closely. But what's your own reading of the posture of these creditor committee members going into that crucial meeting earlier today?
The reports that have been coming through are largely positive. So we saw a couple of weeks ago the finance minister going to China and having some conversations with them on the side. And then we've also seen the formation of the formal creditor group, which includes China, but also includes the Paris Club members in that negotiation process. I think it's also important for us to recognize that the IMF told Ghana that what they require are financing assurances. So some written statement coming from all the creditor groups saying that they're going to provide Ghana some form of debt relief or some form of reprieve going forward. And we have picked up signal that these talks are actually going relatively smoothly, one. But number two, also, even within the Paris Club, so these are the 22 countries that are largely the most developed or advanced in the world. The current member or the leader or the host rather of the club is France, or the French Treasury. And again, the statement coming through from them was to the effect that they are doing everything within their power to reach an agreement on the commitments or the assurances that are required for Ghana now to go to the IMF board with its program and subsequently get the approval. So from where I sit, I think it's the developments are largely risk positive, and they do increase the likelihood that we could actually get a program towards the end of the month or sometime in May.
Towards the end of the month or sometime in May, all things being equal, we may get a program. Sunny, you are there as well. You are quoting sometime in May or early June. But I mean, the dynamics are quite different depending on the variables that you're looking at. But you make mention of the Paris Club members, just for the benefit of our viewers. These are the 22 permanent member states or countries of the Paris Club. And these are creditor countries. And Ghana actually owes a number of these countries you see there: Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Israel, Italy. Let's go on. We have the next: Japan, Netherlands, Norway, Russia, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, the UK, and United States. They make up these 22 permanent members. Sunny, now, with your own interactions as well with some of the members or close associates of this creditor committee countries, what are you learning from them? What posture have they gone into this meeting with? What are they demanding of the Ghanaian authorities?
Well, the demands have not departed from what we've heard largely back in Accra as far as fiscal adjustments is concerned. They are of the view that even if they offer the finance and assurances and we get the program from the fund, if we do not address the structural problems that landed the economy into this kind of turmoil, it's just a matter of time, few years, that the economy will return to this state, and the cyclical challenges that we have seen will just keep occurring. So in as much as they are willing to offer the finance and assurances, they are also asking the finance minister to ensure that in the immediate term, some sort of fiscal adjustments, not just revenue-based, as we have seen the government trying to do, but also on the side of spending. What is government doing to rationalize expenditure so that proper fiscal consolidation can be achieved? So largely, they have also been making some demands, pressing some demands that even if we provide you with the assurance, what also are you also doing on your side to ensure that this whole losses that we may incur is complemented by effort from your side? I also had an interaction with the chairman of the finance committee in Parliament, that's Kuku Kwatin, and of course now the spokesperson of the minority in the finance committee, Isaac Adongo, who were also of the view that largely we are seeing receiving support from these creditors, but they are worried as to how this can be sustained and it will translate into something long-term, not just having the bailouts, having the balance of payment support, getting the disbursement, and we return to our default position of spending on expensive programs which landed us into this trouble. So essentially, that's what they have been saying. Okay, so
Dr. Chambo, my fourth and final question to you, my fourth question and final question to you. So essentially, based on what Sani has said, what is left was just providing the financial assurance to the IMF. That's it, correct?
Because we had met all of the domestic requirements, the key ones being for Ghana, the domestic debt restructuring or debt exchange, passing those revenue bills that were done a few days ago, and then some sort of other smaller reforms that were needed to be undertaken, including at the central bank. So largely on the domestic side, we had met our part of the bargain. The only sticky point so far remains the external side of things, and it's really was about getting those financing assurances, and that's where, like I said earlier, it looks as though some breakthrough is likely to happen, with the key creditors indicating that they are willing to do quote unquote everything within their power to ensure that Ghana gets the needed assurance.
I see. Dr. Theo Champong, appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much. Sani, before I let you go, I'm just getting information that the IMF has lowered Ghana's growth rate to 1.6% for this year from the earlier projection of 2.8% in the April 2023 World Economic Outlook report. Confirm this for me.
Yes, not just Ghana. We've seen the IMF, in fact, lowering the growth forecast for the global economy. And that's largely because of the fact that they are seeing some sort of pressures that have caused inflation to be on the high side, largely from 2022, also returning. Initially, the IMF expected inflation to slow to somewhere above 6%, a little over 6% this year, but they've revised that projection to closer to 7%, which means that prices will remain elevated. And that's not only the problem of the advanced economies, but the developing economies like Ghana are also included in this projection. And that's certainly is going to create some problem, because if the central bank, for example, the Bank of Ghana will want to deploy its monetary policy tools to fight inflation, that means cost of borrowing is going to get higher, as we are already seeing, and that means private sector will not have access to credit, which is already low, and that will subdue productivity, which is also already low, and essentially revival of the economy from the storms that we are seeing, even if we secure the much needed bailout from the fund, may not be as expected, Alfred.
Sani, thank you. Appreciate it. And we'll be connecting a lot more in the coming days. Abdul Sani Rahman is my colleague in Washington, D.C., attending the IMF spring meeting for us here at Media General. So stay with us in the coming days. We'll give you all the details, the exclusive interviews, and exclusive detail you need to know about our engagement with the creditor committee of the IMF and what's happening. You saw the live videos of the finance minister there, and my colleague follow him every step of the way. Will get exactly what you need to know from there. But it is emerging that some people's Ghana card details have been used to register SIM cards that do not belong to them. And it is suspected that, for instance, your biodata was taken at the point of registration and may have been actually used to register SIM cards which are being sold to other people. We followed a viral video by journalist Kofi Adoma Wanweni on the issue, in which he called on the National Communications Authority to intervene. In fact, some individuals have taken onto social media to share their stories. We have a number of those comments as well coming through when we put out this question earlier today on Facebook, especially, and Twitter as well. Some of the comments that came through earlier today, we'll slap them on the screen as we go. But this is what we're getting to know, that some people have their information registered with SIM cards that do not belong to them. Now, Sam Nate George is Member of Parliament for the Ningo Prampram constituency. He is Deputy Ranking on the Communications Committee of Parliament. He's joining me on the telephone. Mr. George, thank you so much for your time on Ghana Tonight. First off, what exactly is the weakness in here that could have given room for this to happen? People's bios being used to register SIM cards that do not belong to them.
Well, good evening to our viewers. This should not come as a surprise. About a year ago, a year or 10 months ago, I did a Facebook post about this. In fact, when your producer called me about this interview, he remembers very well that I spoke about this, and they granted me an interview at the time where I said the entire registration process, a good thing, but was being done in a very shoddy manner, in a poor manner, and that we're going to finish the registration and come back to a place where we would have people who are so-called registered, but the details of their registration are fraudulent. I made this point, and the NCA came up with some response to me at the instruction of the ministry that they were going to do mystery shopping and my fears were fanciful. I was rubbished. But here we are. 10 months on, Sam George has been proven to be vindicated. Because I made the point that we had evidence that people were using people's Ghana cards to do multiple registrations without the Ghana card holders' knowledge, and that those ghost cards were being sold. You know, nothing was done. And you know, Alfred, it goes even beyond that, because in that post, I raised two fundamental security challenges, and I ended up by saying that a future NDC government will have to scrap this entire SIM card register and do another registration.
I see.
That's what I said. There are two reasons why. First and foremost, people's Ghana card details have literally been stolen. What has happened is identity theft. And you have this happening under the watch of the Ministry for Communications and Digitalization, which is the parent ministry for the Data Protection Commission. Citizens' data and identity has been stolen under a program being organized by the ministry. And when we speak, they won't listen to us. They won't ask us to help with the system, because at the end of the day, we all want a good Ghana. But they will rather call us names. So first and foremost, people's data have been stolen. It's been used to register ghost SIMs. Those SIM cards are in the hands of people. Those cards are being duly registered by the NTA and the ministry. They will be used to perpetrate crime, and innocent citizens sitting in their homes will become the subject of police investigation and harassment for crimes they know nothing about. 1. 2. Most of the Ghana cards that are being used by citizens, including people like you, Alfred, if you've registered, many Ghanaians went to do their registration in school parks and churches and things. Many of them got to the registration ground before they were asked about their Ghana Post GPS. Many of them had not generated Ghana Post GPS from their homes or from their places of work. And so you have people generating Ghana Post. In fact, it was a whole thing. You pay 5 cedis and they help you generate the Ghana Post GPS at the school park or on the premises of the church or the mosque. And so even today, if it is not a stolen identity and there's a SIM card that has been used for crime, and you actually want to trace the real owner, yes, you may have the data, but the GPS, Ghana Post GPS location you have, when you trace it, it will take you to the school park where the registration was done, not the person's house. Because the Ghana Park system in itself is fundamentally flawed when you wanted to use the GPS system. Because there was no way to verify and authenticate the GPS location. And so you have data in a database that is useless for crime prevention. So unfortunately, we spent so much money, many man hours basically doing nonsense. Forgive my Greek. Because there is no value to what the Ghana card. And that's why when I hear people like the Electoral Commission running riot that they will use the Ghana card, I just sit back and laugh. That Ghana card is not foolproof. Conservative estimates put at 63% fraudulent GPS post addresses on the database. 63% of the data that the NIA is holding are of, if you run a synchronization of their data, the GPS post.
I see. So you're saying
about 63% of that data will lead you to school parks and churches and public places where the NIA did this registration. So how do you use that data?
But Mr. Sam George, so you're saying that the only solution you see to this challenge is when the NDC comes, you may have to scrap the entire SIM registration exercise that we've spent money on, and man hours, and people will have to still go through the process again. I mean, couldn't we explore other alternatives?
You can't build on a foundation of straw. This foundation is weak. It is failing. You understand me? It is failing. And so anything you try to build on this particular foundation cannot stand. Because you will begin to have police going to people who are innocent, whose data has been stolen. I would expect the ministry to immediately put out a statement asking citizens to go and check to be sure if there's been a breach of their personal data and the remedies and civil remedies that are available in terms of compensation to any Ghanaian whose data has been malhandled on the instruction of the ministry. And the telcos, the NCA must be clamping down on the telcos in protection of the rights. Any citizen, I've seen this Facebook post of this gentleman who registered 2 SIMs, goes and then wants to register a 3rd SIM, and he's told that 8 other SIMs have been registered.
Indeed.
His data has been stolen. What remedies exist under the Data Protection Act for him? How is he going to be compensated for the blatant like stealing. You can't call it anything. Stealing of his personal data.
Okay, but a staff of the NCA posted something on Facebook, and I'm going to ask that we put that on the screen right now on this matter. And he indicates that, and let's put it up there. He says that the NCA, that's what you see, is actively working on a short code for subscribers to verify the number of SIM cards associated with their Ghana card. That's by one Poku Eduse. Okay, so is this app or the short code going to serve as a solution in any way to this problem where people have their biodata now being used by others to register SIM cards?
You see, it's such a responsibility from the regulator. Forgive my very strong word, but it's because I'm frustrated and angry because we warned that this will happen. We told them it will happen. And I'm not excited to say I told you so because this is personal data of citizens. You get it? But when you have the regulator who is failing to look at the technicalities and rather playing to the political gallery, and this is the head of legal, is the same person who previously, when people were complaining that we should go and beat Gongo. You understand me? So it shouldn't surprise you that he's speaking from a place of very little understanding of the situation. You get me? And so, for me, we have a critical problem on our hands. An app will not solve data theft.
Right.
Proper regulators across the world take breach of personal data very seriously. I think the head of legal, or someone in the legal team at the NCA, the regulator of the space, where evidence is being adduced, a citizen is showing evidence that his data has been stolen by a player under the regulator, and the regulator says they are introducing an app. We should shut down the regulator because they don't know what they're talking
we'll
about.
have a bit more on this in the coming days, got to be honest with you. And we're hoping as we knock on the doors of the NCA, we'll get some responses. But Ali Abdul Wahab also posting on Facebook says he registered his SIM card today, yet they didn't ask for his GPS code. In fact, he's not alone in this. Many of you posting as well on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we appreciate your company. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.